I see bro in the morning, Laura Stiles. Rosenberg should be here. What's he doing? His wrestling podcast? That's what's going on?
Yeah.
He should be here for this because he works for ESPN and we're about to get into some Olympics and some sports talk. Introduce yourself to the audience, sir.
My name is Peter Westbrook, a six-time Olympian bronze medal for the United States of America.
There it is. He is, who you're looking at, Mr. Peter Westbrook, the first African-American U.S. fencing champion?
Yes.
Is that the right title?
I'm the first Olympian, a black man to win a medal in the Olympic Games.
Wow. Wow. And what year was this?
This was 1984, and no one has won a medal in my event until this Olympic Games, and he came from our organization.
And what was his name?
Darryl Homer.
And your organization is what?
Our organization is the Peter Westbrook Foundation. We've been in existence for over 25 years, and we have about 160, 70, 80 kids, every class, African-American, teaching them not only to fence, but how to navigate and excel in life.
Now, Mr. Westbrook, ladies and gentlemen, I saw his name, and I was like, he lives right here in New York City, and many people probably don't even know who you are, and I thought this would be a very interesting conversation, especially after the Olympics where we saw a Muslim black woman win a bronze medal in fencing. Miles was up here,
That's right.
and he, I think, bronzed also in fencing with the U.S. team. Fencing is not a sport that I think most black kids, even Spanish kids, black and brown kids in general in America gravitate to. It's not really a popular sport here in America. Where is fencing really popular in the world? Is it?
It's not even popular in the white community, fencing in this country. But let me say this. Fencing originated. They actually have the first recordings of fencing was in Luxor, Egypt, 1000 BC.
Wow.
So it started, the first recordings
With
were
Africans.
found in Africa, correct.
And you, sir, started fencing. You're from which project in Newark, New Jersey?
I grew up in the housing projects in Newark, New Jersey, the Hayes Home Projects, and I started fencing at 12 years old.
Why?
Why? Because my mother asked me to try the sport of fencing. I was getting into crazy things in the environment, so many negative things, sex, drugs, rock and roll, you know.
Just living the life.
And then my mother said, listen, let me get you to try this sport of fencing. I said, I don't want to try fencing. Everybody going to laugh. Everybody going to make fun of me. I'm catching hell already with a black man for a father, Japanese lady for a mother, holding it down, but I don't need any other shoulders, anything on my shoulders. She said, oh, come on, Peter, my family used to do it in Japan. No, that's okay, I don't want to do it. She said, listen, I'll give you $5 if you go and try it. Now, you got to realize $5 to somebody in 1960 something.
That was some real money.
$35, $40 a day.
Right.
So I said $5. My mother was on public assistance and welfare, so she didn't have any money. So I took the money, went to try the sport, and whoa, when I went to try the sport, everybody made a big deal about me. Everybody said how good I was. Everybody says, wow. And nobody ever said anything good about me in the housing project in Newark. Only person I ever heard somebody say anything good about me was my mother. And that don't really count. That don't count. No matter what I do, I'm good.
Yeah.
So that's when I said, let me stick with this thing. I'm feeling pretty good. Around all these white people now, but I said, I'm feeling pretty good about this. I went home and told my mother they made fun of me. They treated me bad. I don't even know if I could do this. But if you give me $5 more, I'll go back tomorrow and see if this will work. So I did this about 3 or 4 times. She conned me. I conned her back. Made about $15, $20. I had a blast. I had a lot of money, And then next thing you know, I stuck with it.
Yeah.
Stuck with it. Got a scholarship to New York University, a full fencing scholarship.
Wow.
And I got
When I think of fencing, I think about, is it expensive? Because like when I think about sports like snowboarding, right? And I know one of my friends, he was like, when he was pro, like in the late 90s, he was like, it's not about ability, it's about access, And he's like, in snowboarding, equipment is expensive.
Right.
So and for some reason, I always think that when I think of fencing, I think of it being a super expensive sport. Like that's why to me, I feel for a lot of people, it's not as accessible. Am I wrong?
Wrong. You're absolutely right. More expensive than snowboarding. You got to pay for the mask, the jacket, the gloves, the uniform, the swords, the weapons that you use, and all the tournaments are throughout the country. And if you're trying to make Olympic teams, all the tournaments in Europe. Expensive is not the word.
Wow.
So when we started the Peter Westbrook Foundation, the purpose is, like you said, Laura, to give the kids access. They would not have access to the
Right.
sport. They're prevented from taking the sport because it costs too much money. So I have a wonderful foundation. People are behind me. God always sends me people, to do big things. We got an endowment now. Somebody bought us property we're going to move into a year and a half. So I'm always thanking God. I'm always thanking God for all the blessings and allowing the kids to come through the program, Laura, to have access and become a great brother and sister.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Westbrook, now, how many kids have you actually sent to the Olympics in the whole? I mean, do you keep count of that? Because I'm sure it's been a lot that you've sent through your academy.
We started the program. I sat down from the Olympic Games in 1996. That was my last Olympic Games. Every Olympic Games since then, 2000, 2004, 8, 12, 16, we send children from our organization to represent the United States at the Olympic Games. We have kids earmarked even for 2020. So,
Like, is there a number? Is it 10?
No. It would be like for 2000, we sent 3. For 2004, we sent 2. For 2008, we sent 2. So we sent, and some of the kids are so skilled that they come back again
Right.
for the next Olympic Games. Some of them only have that one shot in them. So I'm going to say Keith, Aaron, Aki, Kamara, Ivan, Ibtihad. I'm going to say about 7.
About
6.
7 kids.
Yeah.
And how many for the United States in general? Now, this
Yes.
is just your academy.
Yes.
How many academies exist doing what not you do it specifically for black and brown children
Right.
who otherwise would not be able to afford it, but I'm sure
Right.
there's fencing academies all over the country.
Yes. So I think we're probably the premier, meaning how many people go from any organization,
You guys
any
send the
institution.
most.
We're the premier. We're clearly the premier.
Wow.
And we come back with medals, not just this time. We came back with medals. We sent 2 kids 2012, and they came back with a silver medal each. So that's why we get a lot of visibility. And I always say this, which this is what we do a little differently, I believe, than most organizations. Most people have great coaches and they teach the kids to fence, so they become great fencers. We teach them to become great people, great citizens, great black people, and great fencers. When you combine those 2 combinations and 3 combinations, you have a better product. You have a better product most of the time. So that's why our kids excel more than any other institution and more than most Olympians. Even Miles came through organization. I don't claim him, but even Miles came through our organization for a year or more. But everybody is in awe of what we do, because it's not just creating Olympians. We just show them how to avoid the minefields of life. Like I went to the club last night fencing with the kids. He said, Pete, I'm having problems. I had to leave college. I'm having emotional breakdown, a little bit emotional breakdown. So I just let him know that, the goals that I thought I had in life, making the Olympic team, one day graduated, master's degree college, the stress is becoming so insurmountable for me. So I just walk him through the process. Brother, what you're going through, what everybody else is going through. And not only are you going through the same thing, you're in a better position because people don't understand. They look at that if you're an Olympian, you're a success. You got a medal, you made it. You graduated college with a master's degree. I'm the president of the foundation. I made it. That success is only 1 or 2 inches. The real success, the 98% of the success is not all that glitters, that is gold. So I tell the kids, what you're trying to do, you lucky you had a little setback because you can see that it's not the master's degree, it's not the Olympic medal, but it's how you do everything that you can to uplift yourself, uplift your community, uplift your people, try to do something rather than just self-serving yourself. So consider it a blessing that you had a little setback, and now you understand what real things in life. Now go ahead, forehead, and try to do what you got to do. Become big. So he got it now.
Give him
But
some
look,
perspective.
Right, right.
So I'm familiar with what is it, St. Benedict's,
Yeah,
right, in
yeah,
Jersey.
yeah.
A couple of Bobby Trents here at Hot 97, who's one of our DJs, went to St. Benedict's and was on the fencing team there.
That I never knew that.
Yeah.
Never.
Another friend of mine named Clayton Walton, he was on the fencing team there. I never heard of black fencers before. Like, that's not something I ever had paid attention to. And now I have people that I know, black Spanish kids that are from the hood that was like, yeah, I was on the fencing team and we was a shit. Like, the whole country.
Right.
Like, won nationals, won state championships,
Right.
used to beat
Yeah.
everybody who thought, and we was just some kids that used to walk in and get busy.
Who's the
Right.
gentleman from the Bronx that was really popular?
A club or a fencer or
A fencer, yeah. He just won in the
Dow Homer.
Olympic. Is
Dow
that-
Homer. He
okay,
just won a
okay.
silver medal at the Olympic game. Dow Homer.
And he's from the Bronx, right? Yeah.
He's from the Bronx. He's with the foundation
Okay.
for about 6-7 years before the club split up. When he won the medal, all he kept saying on NBC, I owe this medal to Peter. I owe this medal to the foundation. So, he's part of it. I claim him.
So I guess what I'm trying to articulate for people watching is there's definitely a movement of individuals here in our tri-state area that see this fencing as an outlet for athleticism, discipline, focus on life. What is it about fencing as a craft that gives this perspective and I guess work ethic to these individuals? What is it about the sport? Because those of us who have never done it may not understand.
First of all, I love fencing because it's a one-on-one sport. I love one-on-one sport more than team sports. And the reason I like individual sport is this. When you get the success, it's all for yourself. In a team sport, when you get the success, all of you share in the success. But on the other side of the coin is when you lose and get broken and get beat down, the team shares in the loss. When you in a one-on-one sport, when you lose, you share in that defeat and loss by yourself. So what does that do? It builds more strength. It builds more character. It makes you able, if you can get back up and brush that loss off and get back in the fight, it makes you a stronger man. I think life is like an individual sport more than a team. Yeah, you got your family to help you out with the team, but it's an individual journey in life. So when you are able individually to brush off the downfalls, brush off the things that happen in your life, you become successful. Fencing, to me, is like a mirror image of life. My coach used to always tell me, if you are successful in fencing, 98% of the time, you are successful in life. That's what you're alluding to, Ebro. It doesn't work the other way around, he said. But if you're successful in life, you become a star, 99% of the time, you're going to be successful in life.
What's the training? What's
Yeah.
like what's a day? Like if I'm training for the Olympics, what's a
Right.
day?
Like in any sport, you got to train every day.
Yeah.
You have to, let's say you go to the gym, the fencing gym. The fencing gym itself, you get there maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock, and you leave 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, sometimes a little longer. In addition to that, whenever you can, when you're not there or before, you start lifting weights. And then in addition to that, you want to get involved in sprinting, because fencing is nothing but going up and down and like the 100 meters, sprinting at one another with swords in your hand, trying to, as they say, attack, trying to run at them and get them, and trying to get out the way. So you're sprinting all the time.
And it's a lot of start and stop, start and
A
stop,
lot of
start and stop.
Brother, I used to do a little martial arts at Harlem Goju. And sometimes I would do 400 kicks, 400 kicks. And I walk out the gym and punches, and I'm okay. When I walk out the gym and fencing, sometimes I can't even walk right. I like to lift weights 2 hours now. And when I lift weights, I go home, it's no big deal. When I walk out of fencing like last night, I can't even hardly walk right. So you really burn a lot of calories. You're really putting it out there.
And is it the sustained movement of holding the sword and the bounce of it? Like I'm trying to really understand the physical.
It's like two people doing martial arts. You've seen a martial
Yeah,
art tournament,
of course.
right?
Yes.
And after one touch is scored, they stop. right? In martial arts, when you
Right.
hit a person, they stop. Well, you're doing that same thing in fencing, but instead of in martial arts, is 3 points. In fencing, is 15.
Yeesh.
So times that you see a martial art, 3 points times 5, and that's a fencing match. It's longer. It's a little more grueling.
And there's more equipment, and it's heavier.
Right.
I can imagine.
Does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah. And
definitely.
how heavy are the swords?
Not that heavy.
Okay.
A sword might be, what? 2 pounds?
Okay.
Something like that.
And
2
what
pounds?
percentage of your students are women? Is it popular with women?
Oh, yeah. I try to get the sisters in there because that brings the men in there. Always got to do that. Always got to do that. Always got to do that. And anything that you do, if you bring the sisters, the men will come. I go to this church, Abyssinian Baptist
I'm
Church.
very familiar.
And when you bring the women, the men always come. So to answer your question, we have about 35, 40% women in
wow.
the program. That many. And then, the other 35, 45% of men. So yeah. 65, yeah. So you got a lot of women in there. A lot of women.
Would you say fencing helps you with self-defense?
Well, let me just say, not really. Like I said, I used to do a little martial arts for a little bit. And the fencing, when I went there, I'm not quite sure if it was the background from the projects, but I know the fencing gave me good skills. So when I'm fighting in the dojo, fighting brown, black belts, I could hold my own down, because if you're able to block a little sword coming at you, it's a little easier to block a fist and a foot.
Right,
it's
right,
a little
right.
bigger. So the timing, in fencing, when I did the martial arts, I bring that timing in the defense. So I would say that if you're good at one, you'll probably be good at the other.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
His name is Peter Westbrook. He's got a foundation here in New York City. How would a child or a parent get their child introduced to fencing? Or how would a kid say, look, I want to try this? Like, what's the process?
All you have to do is go to the email peterwestbrook.org. peterwestbrook.org. When you go to our webpage, you can see everything. It tells you when we begin the programs on Saturdays. And all you have to do is have a willing spirit. The rest is up to all of us together.
And as far as discipline and focus, when the Westbrook Foundation allows me in, what should I expect? What type of work are we doing?
For the beginner program, the people that come in, so many people come in, it's on Saturdays. That's the beginner program. And it's on Saturdays from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12. So it's only 9 to 12 on Saturdays.
And what age does it start at?
It starts at 9 years old. You can take them at 8, youngest, but 9 to 17 years old. And I have wonderful Olympic coaches, world champion team members running the program. And this is what makes it so popular. Not only do you have bad Olympians and world champions and national champion, it's pretty much for free. We charge $50 for the entire year.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I charge $50, before it was free, brother, free. But I found out one thing. When you give something away for free, people think the value of the program is less. So everyone has to buy into the program.
That's right.
When I gave it to them for free, people took for granted they didn't come. When I charged them $50, everybody comes. They think it's the best program in town. And we open it up for 1 week, and we have now, just 1 week, we open up the door, and we have over 150, 60 people on the wait list because I charge $50. So I always say when you're running a program and doing anything for your people, and I love my people, I love my homeless people, I love people that are mentally ill on the street, but you got to buy into the program. You got to give something before to make it successful. You got to buy it. Here's a biblical text. And I remember, I'm a deacon in my church, and I remember there was someone, a homeless person. I remember the prophet said to him, do you want to be made whole? Do you want to be made whole? He said, yes. And then he healed him. But you have to be willing to invest and want to be a part of the process to be made whole, or you have to be a part of the process to be successful. So that's all the kind of spirit that we're looking for, to be a part of the process.
PeterWestbrook.org. Go check it out. I know for young people that are looking for a path, or parents that are looking to get their kids involved in something that has discipline, life
Yeah.
lessons. That was my interest in having you come up, just because the young lady, the Muslim lady, what's her name?
Ibtihaj Mohammed.
Ibtihaj Muhammad.
Correct.
She won the bronze.
Right.
You trained her.
Yes.
She's still a part of your academy.
Yes.
When did she begin working with you?
She came to us when she was 15, 16 years old. What I do is mentor her and guide her through the minefields, the fear, the minefields, the stress. I actually have someone working with her one-on-one, Aki Spencer L., who is one of the kids in the foundation. He went to the Olympic Games. So he's one of our homegrown, and I have him actually working with Ipti every single day. My job is just to come into her life when she calls me, Peter, can I come to your home? Can we talk? Can you walk through the process? So I'm raising all the money and overseeing the coaches, teaching them how to coach and make sure they're doing well. But she's exceptional. I told her when she won that medal, the medal that you win, let me tell you what it means. It's a medal for you. It's a medal for all Islamic women around the country and around the world that are oppressed in sports, that are oppressed in education. And it is a beacon of light in America. Because a lot of times today you have people saying negative things about Muslim people like Trump. So this is a beacon of light for Muslim people to have her going to the Olympic Games with all that negative rhetoric is being around. So for her, I always tell her this, don't let it get to your head. Do not think you're bigger than you are, because if you do, I'll have to get that pin and bust the balloon to bring you down. So she all that. She said, I'm good, Pete. I said, all right.
And for like I said, parents listening right now, go to peterwestbrook.org. And Mr. Westbrook, for you being the first black man or woman to compete in the Olympics in fencing,
To win a medal, yes.
And to win a medal, not
Yes.
to compete, but to win a medal.
Yes.
I'm sure somebody's doing a documentary. I'm sure there's somebody covering this, because after this year's Olympics, I did notice that it was a bigger story
Right.
than it had been in the past. And I think some of that is obviously Ipti's contribution
Right.
brings that, like, whoa, this woman wearing a hijab and,
Right.
Yeah.
and being a Muslim from America and a black woman at that
Right.
was an interesting story. So is someone working on the story and your story and just kids who are black and brown fencing in America? Is that a thing?
Yes, we've been on small segments like 60 Minutes, Real Sport. Oprah gave us some money to help us to be successful. But there's a movie producer, his name is Carl Borak, and he just completed a documentary on the Peter Westbrook Foundation. And he actually got his friend, Richard Dreyfuss, who's the Academy Award winner, to do the narration of the film. It will be in film festivals. It will be on the Olympic station. And probably in another month, you'll see and hear about this documentary. So it's very, very pleasing to us, because you get a chance to see in the South all the wonderful little black, brown, white, Asian kids just doing their thing and rising up to greatness, not only in fencing, but in their personal arena and in their lives. Why are you smiling, Laura?
No, because it's exciting. I want to see it. I think it's great. I think it's great.
I'm messing with Laura.
Now, I was listening to you speak about your mom, and before we wrap up this conversation, your mom wanted you to try fencing, and she said your mother was Japanese.
Right.
And she said this is something that her family participated
Right.
in. And this was in Japan.
In Japan, her family, she used to have a lot of samurais in the
I was
family.
gonna
She
bring-
used to
that's
call them
exactly where I was going.
Samurais up to the Emperor of Japan.
That's right.
So maybe it's
And
in
the
my-
samurai culture which was the governing army, if you will, or worked for the royal family, I guess is the understanding. It was almost like the official Japanese army that was the samurai.
Yeah.
But that samurai culture for Japan, if I remember history books right, was abandoned as Japan became more Western and wanted different ways of
Right.
governing and having a military in society. Is that correct?
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. The samurai was supposed to serve the emperor of Japan, and they did it by violence, not by amicable communication.
And
They did it
diplomacy.
right. That's how they rule.
Yeah.
The country outgrew the samurai. So my mother used to always tell me, Peter, it's in your blood. Well, I'm not quite sure what made me successful that is in my blood, or just growing up in a hood in a project, because that's in my blood too. So I'm not sure which one, but maybe both had a little part of
Combinations,
this.
yeah.
Well, there are, I'm into a lot of sociology, anthropology, there are studies that talk about early samurais being of African descent.
Yes.
In the earlier, like you're talking about 60,000, 50,000 BC,
Right.
as people migrated from Africa into parts of Asia and
Right.
Southeast Asia, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. So maybe it is in your blood.
Hey, one way or another, either through Japan or through the hood. I'm going to claim
It's
both.
there. It's there. PeterWestbrook.org. Go check it out for your kids and your family members. It's a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure, Brother Ebro. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.